I felt abandoned, alone, and angry. And nothing I did made me feel like I belonged. I don't know my father, I didn't grow up with my father, and I don't know the whereabouts about him. So I was raised by a single mother, and then she passed away when I was 13. But before she passed away, it was a little bit hectic. She was very sick, you know, but without my father being around, I had a stepfather in between, but she was very abusive towards my mother. And I remember when I was like around 12, I had to, kick him out of my mother's house. My mother fell sick after a couple of months. I had to look after her. I had to carry her to the loo and feed her, make sure that she has food before I go to school. My mother ended up in the hospital for about a couple of months. While I was at home, my aunt came back, and they announced the bad news that she passed away. After my mother died, I was moved in an orphanage, and that's where I spent most of my teenage years. That's when I joined Waterberg Welfare Society as one of the orphans and vulnerable children. So that experience was still intense, was still hard because I was very angry. I isolated myself from people. I was afraid of rejection. I didn't feel loved enough. Whether with school, whether on stage, whatever I was doing, I had to make sure that I'm doing my best in order to belong somewhere. But the more I did it, the more the longing grew, actually. Although I didn't realize it back then, God had placed spiritual family in my life. I met a lady called Mary Stevenson who kind of took me in as a spiritual mother. That gave me a lot of hope and connected me with people who fathered me and mothered me to be able to do well at school. But when I didn't do well with my matric, I felt very disappointed in myself, and also I felt that they were very disappointed with me. I started to question a lot of things about, who God is through the whole experience, because I didn't feel like He was there, and not having my father and calling Him a father didn't really connect with me at all. That was the journey with Him of God, of, I wanna know who this person is. I've heard about Him in the church, but I want to experience Him. So I had to put myself in a place where I lost total control, to the point where I was very frustrated because I was in search of Him, But in my darkest point of wanting to give up, He showed Himself. He brought some men around me to say, I will adopt you as my son and mentor you. By the grace of God, a door opened for me to volunteer somewhere with the same organization I grew up in, which is Waterberg Welfare Society. And then they took me in, and they trained me to be a peer educator. So God blew me away, even in the midst of, there was no hope, but He turned things around for me. Although I knew God and saw Him providing, I still struggled with embracing Him as my Father. So I came to Cape Town and did a discipleship training school for me to experience God as a father. I didn't have enough money. I had so much pride. I didn't even want to ask people for help. But God took me through a journey of humility, and then He broke me down by supernaturally providing for my school. But there's a moment where we were praying, and the people that were around said I was crying, Abba. Abba. I don't know how many times, but I was saying Abba, 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 Abba. And I was on the ground weeping like a child. And that's when I was told about the spirit of adoption. This revelation that God adopts us opened my heart to embrace Him as a father. From that day, that's when I firmly knew that God is a father. And He's there, and He provides, and He protects. And He longs to be with us as much as we long to be with Him.